go time.
Seriously.
Looks good.
Heck of a baby bump.
Profile there, baby.
Jason Phelps game called. All he does is sit on his butt and
No, that's my whole motto. That's why we build good calls so you don't have to walk to them. Duh.
Freaking disgusting.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Gritty Bowmen podcast. We are here with the Phelps Elk Nuggets.
That's right.
Actually, Brownlee, how about you do the introduction?
Exercise nuggets from Phelps.
That's right.
That didn't sound good.
Let's get some elk nuggets going here, Jason.
Right.
We have a question. Our question for you today is how to locate elk and how to hunt the wind.
All right. Well,
So let's start with,
I mean, they kind of tie together.
Yeah.
We'll kind of find the elk first, and then we'll hunt the wind. But in my opinion, there's multiple ways to find elk. My two favorite are either through an audible bugle, locator bugle, or through glassing early morning, late night, or if we're really struggling, a lot of times we'll get up on a vantage point. If you're around open timber, a lot of times you can catch them bedded on.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get right into locator bugle. My favorite way to hunt is walking ridges, locating bulls down in canyons. So my typical strategy, a locator bugle is for people that don't know, is typically just a high 2 or 3 note bugle.
Can you do it? I was
Yeah.
just going to say. Yeah.
So, I mean, just really high, not a lot of voice inflection, not a lot of growl, just a real high note.
what it sounds like.
I love that noise.
I can't even hear if my pitch broke. That might have been the worst elk call ever because I'm tone
headset's
deaf.
on.
But
Yeah.
it's just it usually only breaks over 2 or 3 notes, and we.
I don't even know what that means.
So
Well, why do you do that?
So
Why?
as you can hear a bugle, you can hear the notes break over. So a lot of guys can walk them up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, so when we say, oh, my headset's all contorted. When we say 2 or 3 notes, we're talking maybe those upper 2 or 3 notes. You try to keep it really clean. Not a lot of voice. A lot of guys growl at the beginning. Lip ball, voice inflection. I just keep my height. I'm trying to get that high note as far as I can and reach as many elk as possible.
Right. Right.
So when growing up, I hunted almost entirely walk-in, bike-in type areas.
Uh-huh.
We'll get on a gravel road. Anytime, the road bulges out and you're on a finger ridge, we would bugle. Whether we had just bugled from 200 yards behind us or 200 feet behind us.
Yeah.
We used every little spot that, the road would bulge out or the ridge would bulge
Yeah,
out or
because
finger
the
ridge.
sound carries different.
Yeah, or a lot of times,
penetrates.
you'd get to the second or third one, you get a bull to answer. There's no, back to this whole elk or elk, and there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
For some reason, he didn't want to answer you when you were 100 yards away from him. You wanted to wait until you were 300 yards away.
Yeah.
And so now that I've kind of shifted from hunting, private timberlands, industrial timberlands, into the more high country, big country type stuff, we use pretty much the same exact tactics. Every 200 or 300 yards, if we're on a ridge top, we're bugling. Or every time we get to like a new pocket, or a spot where we can meet, essentially get a new elk to respond, we're letting locator bugles out.
I think those of us who have hunted Roosevelt elk on the western side, you're not glassing them.
Not typically. I mean, early morning, late at night if they're coming out to feed. But a lot of times,
maybe in a clear cut or something. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. But if we're messing with them, a lot of times we kind of screw up their timeline, and they'll come out later, or they'll come out in a different cut, or they'll
come out at
they'll
night.
feed in a creek bottom. They'll change up their strategy
Right.
for a day, especially if you've messed with them.
So if you've been hunting that, a lot of times you rely on the locator bugle a lot.
I do a lot.
And then you go to the east side, and it's like we still carry that with us because it's our bread and butter.
I just we do spend a lot of time glassing early in the morning, and I would say 99% of the time I can typically find an elk, through my glass early in the morning or late at night. But so a lot of the bulls we kill, even if I spot them across the canyon, by the time they're in their beds and I get around to them, I'm still having to locate them with a bugle. We just kind of treat it like, well, these things.
So I got a question for you. I was talking to, I think, Ty Stubblefield and Josh Keller. And and they were explaining, like with Born and Raised, there are certain guys in the group that seem to, when they bugle, a locator bugle, bulls respond.
Yep.
When other guys in the group do it, they don't get a response. So there's something about doing a locator bugle that gets a response. And I know, like in our group, that, like I said on the earlier podcast about like the Primos Terminator bugle, we tend to blow that, we get a response. We blow something else, we don't. What is it that seems to work well on a locator bugle?
I mean, we notice the same thing. I don't know what. There's a high pitch note that you can kind of hear ring your ears if you hit it just right. It's that loud.
So if it's high pitched, that seems to.
Yeah, I mean,
is that just because it carries further?
It carries better. I think. I don't know exactly why it just seems to get. It's non-threatening. You seem to get a better response back. So it's ever since I've been small. Locator's just a high 2 or 3 note bugle. But we noticed the same exact thing in our group. Me and Charlie are both diaphragm users, and we always joking around or asking Kelly, like, who sounds better, who's louder, or he's a great caller, but there are a lot of times where we can both stand in the same exact spot, and I'll let him go first, like, all right, let's see what you got, and he'll rip a bugle off, and then hand the bugle tube over to me, and instantly get a response.
And you're probably really disappointed to tell the whole world that, but
it's like I'm glad it's that way, not the other way around, because it could just as easily be the opposite.
We just omitted that information, no, that's cool. Okay.
I mean, there's a note, there's volume, there's lots of different reasons why, but.
So that's just couple ways tips on how to locate elk. So how to hunt the wind.
Okay, so. A lot of times, wind in your face, that makes sense. Everybody can understand that. Wind's in your face, nothing can go wrong.
Yep.
Well, as soon as we locate a bull, the first thing I ask myself a series of questions. What time of day is it? Are the thermals going to shift on us? I have to comment. This hat is driving me nuts.
Dude,
so
that hat,
you guys. I'm going to say that you guys called me into this hat, and I am absolutely don't.
I was wondering how long he'd wear it before he broke.
I've been sitting here. I haven't been asking questions because I can't stare at that bloody hat. I can't talk.
We've got all right. I'm going to get back.
I told Jason to put the hat on right at the beginning. We'll make some flat brim jokes about the hat, and then I didn't say anything.
I know. I just realized I can't see you guys. I'm like, I got this flatty on still. It looks really good on me though.
That is a pretty stylish hat. Phelps game calls.
It's cute.
You still make those?
No, this was a one and done for sure. I was gonna do a giveaway and I ended up putting it on and took a selfie of myself with it on, and then
no one wanted it.
It sat in my
see this hat right here? It's my new solo hunter camouflage hat, and I love this hat. It's my new favorite hat because you've taken like a trucker hat, sort of hat, and then you've added retro camouflage to it. And there's just nothing more man about it.
No, I mean it's
just man.
No one man about
And so
that.
I've been like wearing it everywhere. And here's my thing. My wife hates trucker hats and she hates retro camo. I don't understand that because there's just nothing more to me.
Man, I mean,
70s macho.
Unless it was like that foam trucker hat. Like if you could get it in like the thick foam front.
That's
But that's getting pretty hipsterish. And
it is.
Yeah. They took that over. They should have left it for the truckers.
The man, beard, hipster. But here's the deal. Okay, so wearing a hat like this. The camo thing, I don't understand how anybody can't like retro army camo. And I mark my words, if First Light, or Sitka or KUIU came out with a retro camo pattern, dude, I would be in it.
Exactly.
I don't care if I browned out and every elk could see me, dude. I would be wearing that stuff.
Like I'm
proud.
I'm a ASAT guy, but I'm a huge fan of multicam. It's a slight twist on the retro camo, but that stuff's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something manly about it.
Now that I took us way out in left field because of my stupid hat.
Hunt the wind.
So you've located a bull. There's multiple ways. You go at them. You're looking at what time is it? Thermals in the mountains. In the early morning when the air's going downhill, down valley, downstream. So I'm trying to calculate all this stuff. All right, there's a bull over there I want to kill. How long is it going to take me to get there? What's the wind going to be doing? What's my approach going to be? And
typically, let's just go there. Okay, where's the wind blowing in the morning?
Downhill, down valley, down the face of the slope.
Okay, and where's it blowing as it warms up.
Midday, it'll turn. You'll get draft going up valley and up slope. And where it really gets tricky is in the middle of the day when it's 90 degrees, but you're still down in the creek or down in these finger draws, where the creek water, or the cold water is keeping things.
Or the dark timber.
Yeah, I mean, you get some weird sections there, and that's really where. It's like the elk know exactly what line they need to be on, where the wind's coming at them from every angle, and so that's a lot of times you get yourself in that situation where like, well, do I need to go? I need to run down the creek, and then you run down the creek, you're like, well, shoot, now it's going up. Now I need to, and so they keep you guessing and trying to keep the wind right.
And then at night, what's it doing?
It goes back down, so as soon as that sun kind of starts to set over top of the near ridge line, and you can feel the shadows start hitting you, and it starts to get colder. Typically within there in the next 20 minutes, you're going to get a swirling wind, and then it'll eventually blow straight back down.
Okay.
I mean, I think this, I'm new to this, but I think this is the biggest, most important thing.
Yeah.
Because those things can smell you.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fool, you can fool their eyes, you can fool their ears, but you'll never fool their nose. I mean, once they smell you, the gig's up. But a lot of times you can get away with some movement, you can get away with some sounds.
So it's blowing down in the morning when it's cool until it warms up, and it's blowing down in the evening it doesn't start to get consistently blowing down until it gets cool enough.
Yeah, and so basically, if the temperature or the air is cooling, it typically wants to go down. If the air is being heated up, it typically wants to blow up slope. And then you get the weird sections, like I said. The creek water is cooling the air down.
So how do you get in there?
I was going to say every situation is a little different too, because the time, like you said, you're analyzing time of day, what the wind's going to do.
Are you going to approach from the bottom?
Because it might be good right now, but it might change on you before you can close the deal.
Yeah, so that's some of the questions we're asking. As soon as we spot or locate a bull, all right, there's a bull over there. Which way are we going to approach from? Or if we're going to approach on contour from below him, what's the wind going to be doing now? What's it going to be doing when we get there? Is he going to be able to potentially smell us anywhere in between?
And what helps too is if you know where they're going.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. If you can, an elk that doesn't have to change what it's doing is way easier to call in than an elk you got to turn around or change what it's doing. So a lot of times we're like, multiple times I'm not real good at being patient. But a lot of times we're like, well, he's going to go bed right over there where they were yesterday, or that pocket of timber. And so it's like, we're not really in a hurry then at that point. Like, we can let the wind shift completely, kind of get that variable out of the way, and try to improve we watched last year we watched a great bull, and as bad as I wanted to put the pack on and run, it was just better. We knew that the chances of killing that bull were better if we let it take his cows to bed and settle down a little bit, just because the way where he was at and the terrain he was in, there was no good way to approach from the wind, ice, visually. And
sometimes if you can't get at him because the wind just won't let you just have to wait. Or you just have to wait for another vulnerable moment. But I balance that with being super aggressive, because I feel like most archery hunters, the elk hunters, are not aggressive enough. They don't go after it. They don't take the chance. They're too worried about spooking them. So in the end, they don't push in close enough, hard enough. At the end, when you're getting into those last few, that killing distance, it's just a gamble. You just got to know, you know what, I might blow this. But if you don't try, it's like Gretzky. You miss every shot you don't take.
Right.
Yeah, we're going after him eventually. It's just whether we're going to wait an hour or two. And I kind of think the aggressive is like, we're going to, when we do go after him, then we're going to get 80 to 100 yards. And then the kind of finish the whole wind thing up. One of the tips or tricks or strategies is, once you get in close, keeping the wind perfectly at your nose doesn't. Now I've still got to guess left or right, up or down, straight in. If I can use the wind basically as a steering wheel and steer this elk, if I can get the wind off, I mean, we're still 100% good if the wind's hitting, say, this right cheek. Now I can almost guarantee that elk's going to go to my left, or my shooter's left, or the caller's left. And so we do that a lot. We'll get in tight. We'll keep the wind perfect all the way until we get in and ready to set up. And then as soon as we're ready to set up, we'll basically split the caller or the hunter in that way. So if the wind's blowing slight left, the caller will be set down to the right and try to hopefully pull that bull in right into the shooter, because that bull's always going to be trying to check wind. Except for the time he doesn't. And we've had it happen, especially trying to video some of these stinking hunts. We're like, we're also trying to set up as the caller/cameraman. Like, we've got good viewing area here, and then the bull do the opposite. Like, well, he wanted to die today, just not on camera.
Like, we were in this cut where the wind was blowing down, and Ben was approaching the bull. Most likely he's going to try to come down and cut under Ben to get that wind.
Yep.
So if Ben moves into place downwind where he thinks he'll probably, come down, he'll be there when the bull gets there. And so trying to guess where that bull's going to come through, and you can look at the terrain. They don't want to climb a hill. They don't have to. If you can look at play, they don't want to, work hard any harder than they need to. So you can kind of predict where they're going to go as you spend time doing this, and you can get there. But understanding wind and how they like to use the wind is a big deal.
Yeah, and
got a story to tell about that?
Yeah, well, there's if I had to give a tip based on wind is don't ever take the shortcut or don't think you're going to cheat the wind. There's on my big bull in 2012, we located him through glassing that morning. He didn't bugle. He was doing all of his own bugling, running cows around. And there was this whole, like, the fastest way from A to B is a straight line, right? Well, there was basically, the elk have pretty much paved a road from where I was at to him, not a real road, but a trail that's 5 feet wide, and I could easily have went right to him, But I was like, there's a trick involved here. And you look at the wind. It was early in the morning. The wind was blowing straight down. If we would have took that easy route to him, we would have definitely been busted. But instead, we looked at our GPS really quick. We found a way to kind of come up through the cliffs and drop into him where the wind was going to be perfect. And so, it took us an extra half an hour to get there. But if I would have said, let's just take, the low road and see how this works, we would have, there's no doubt in my mind we would have screwed it up. So by taking the time, we went around completely a 360 all the way around these elk as fast as we could. Of course, we were basically sprinting, but got around and then approached these elk with the wind being right. That way we didn't have to risk anything. It was a bull we definitely wanted to get a shot at. And so, like I said, it was laid out for us. You can take the easy road, or you can put a little bit of effort in, keep the wind right.
Yeah.
And then that first day, we snuck up over and we hear a bunch of racket, cows just busting. We're like, what in the heck is going on? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, we didn't scare him already, did we? The wind's perfect. We did everything we were supposed to, and my buddy Derek was supposed to be the shooter, so he went down and got close, and I started bugling, and sure enough, he ripped right off. And I have some old GoPro footage of him that didn't turn out worth a ding, because he's at 45 yards. But ultimately, he comes up in this little V, and he's just standing there, looking around, looking at us, ripping bugles. He's only like 10 yards from Derek.
Yeah.
And Derek says he doesn't have a shot. He kind of pinned himself down behind some subalpine fir that were tight. And that bull's just ripping, and I'm ripping, and I see him take like 2 steps back to his cows. And I'm like, well, this is maybe the one chance. So I actually knocked an arrow in plain view, drew back, and shot right over him. I'd guess 55. Mm-hmm. He was at 45, and I didn't have a rangefinder. I wasn't supposed to be the shooter. And so that day it was kind of heartbreaking, but we got a chance. We got a shot at him, and then fortunately I was able to kill him the next day. But I mean, do everything you can to keep the wind right. You're never ever going to fool their nose. I love
creek bottoms because the wind is always consistent.
Yep.
It just always blows in one direction.
Yep.
In the creek bottom. And so, especially if it's a narrow cut.
Yep. Yeah. The tighter, the deeper, the it's going to almost always be blowing downhill. Yeah, you can get 50 feet off the creek bottom and it may be swirling. But as long as I have that film I put together, Gruff Mountain Man, on our YouTube channel with Anthony and I, and we're hiking. And every time we got more than, 40, 50 yards from the creek bottom, the wind would blow uphill toward this bull. But as long as we stayed right on the creek bottom there, real close to it, 40 yards from the creek, our wind was just sucking down the creek. Yep.
And so we were able to sneak right into this bull, like 100 yards below him, staying at the creek bottom, comfortable. We knew our wind was going to be good all day long, which is great. It's nice when you have that, that. Well, if that bull's going to come down to us, trying to coax him down there, he's actually got a good wind blowing up toward him.
Yep.
I mean, it's in his face, except for when he gets real close to the creek bottom.
So he's going to feel comfortable.
So
until
he feels
gets down
comfortable coming down.
Yeah, I think, we don't think about all these things, but you look back on a lot of our hunts and like, man, we've caught a lot of bulls right in the creek bottom. Mm-hmm. We'll be on the opposite side of the creek and he'll be on the opposite side of the creek, but we get in some of these tight drainages and we'll, call bulls within 30 or 40 yards of the creek. And, just because the wind's, he thinks the wind's in his favor, but it's really not.
Right.
Yep. And sure enough, he came charging in, and Anthony shoots him. And it's a cool little video. I tried to be the cameraman and the caller, and that's when, especially, it was like a Sony handy cam. But it was still fun, and we got it on film. But yeah, definitely the wind matters. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of Phelps Elk Nuggets.
That's right.
Stay gritty.
Windy
Stay gritty.
Nuggets. Windy Nuggets. Stay gritty. Stay gritty.
Okay, gritty friends, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word gritty at checkout. If you're a hardcore elk hunter, or you want to be, go to the Elk 101 website online and check them out. Our friend Corey Jacobson is killing it with some of the best elk hunting information and entertainment on the web. If you haven't heard, we're doing a huge gear giveaway to try and grow and expand the gritty community on Facebook and Instagram. I asked a bunch of friends to pitch in on this gear giveaway, and they all came through with some awesome stuff. Our friends at KUIU, Rockslide, First Light, Phelps Game Calls, One Shot Gear, Mountain Ops, XXX Archery, Blacktail Outdoors, and Is It September Yet are pitching in some sweet gear for the giveaway. We'll announce all the details in the next few weeks. All you have to do to be entered to win is like our Gritty Bowmen Facebook page and follow us on Instagram. All right, friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.